Pam Bondi revealed something really scary today, and it's not what you think. Not so much by what she said, but by how she conducted herself. Here's some highlights, and then let's talk about what this marks.
There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files
I'm reclaiming my time. I got your answer. You said there's no evidence.
Trump asked
Mr. Chairman, please stop the clock. Stop the clock.
The legislation. This is ridiculous.
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center, because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you, here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop the limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized his operation. And as we say here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Mr. Jordan,
Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last 4 years? Did you talk about Epstein?
I am reclaiming my time. I'm glad you're asking about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim
because
time
this is bigger than Watergate.
When I don't answer a question
this
the way
goes over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And that's
now,
where the
I want to know at what point did the FBI and the DOJ decide that Lex Wessner was not a co-conspirator? Because our Epstein Files Transparency Act requires you, please put it back on the screen, please, to release the internal decision about whether to prosecute him or not, and it's not in the files, and it's not in the files for any of these other men.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
May she answer?
And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the ban that we were talking about on deep fake AI porn. Only 2 people voted against it, and you were one of them, hypocrite.
Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna have been fantastic, and they really do have the administration's back against the wall legally. If it wasn't for these two, I'm not sure any of this would have happened, because establishment Dems are also protecting the Clintons. Now, you've probably heard about DHS purchasing huge warehouses around the country for concentration camps. That's not hyperbole, that's just the definition of what they are. But if Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, and Stephen Miller want to achieve what they need to next, they've got to get the judiciary out of the way. And they've already been pretty successful at it. ICE agents are now judge, jury, and executioner. Also not hyperbole. In fact, I think we should just get that word out of our vocabulary at this point. They haven't gotten away with ignoring all court orders, but a significant amount. The Reichstag fire decree suspending some people's civil liberties is what allowed the SS to go crazy. In this country, we're already there for non-citizens, visa holders, and green card holders. Marco Rubio proved that you can take these things away if you say something bad about Israel. And for U.S. citizens, we're right on that line. This is the domestic terrorism label I've spoke about and the insurgency suppression that they're conducting. Keith Porter Jr., Renee Good, and Alex Preddy were the first victims of this. The only real step left is for this administration to ignore the judiciary completely. And I think the only reason they have that is one, because they're still building momentum, and two, because the Supreme Court has worked in their favor. But today may have marked the start of that process. Pam Bondi perjured herself countless times today and didn't seem to care. Others have too, like Kash Patel, but not after we've had the files right in front of us with hard evidence. And the truth is that this is really the only option they have left. They either stay fully committed or they go to prison, so they're going to keep their foot on the gas. The concentration camps will likely turn into work camps very shortly. There's so much money being made on these things already. It's only a matter of time before these monsters push for more, just like they've already done with private prisons. And that's when the stuff that no one wants to talk about begins, if it hasn't already, because we have no idea what's happening inside these detention centers. When the economics of the situation force overcrowding and other countries refuse to take people, what do you do with people? Pam Bondi and the rest of the admin are just going to push harder and harder to outpace the opposition until they can start arresting their political opposition, which they've already begun and started the process of. It hasn't been lawmakers specifically yet, but they're building a case. They already had Jayapal's internet browsing history. They're spying on lawmakers and building their cases. Congress can keep yelling, and yeah, it was therapeutic in some respects, but action is the only thing that does anything. But remember, disrupting a congressional proceeding is now legal, according to Trump. In fact, you can actually just trespass and stop it. He, of course, wouldn't allow that, but isn't it past time that we start seeing these leaders and lawmakers putting themselves at personal risk? Go to a detention center and lead a hunger strike until they let you in. Or conduct a sit-in to literally block the doors of the House and Senate to stop DHS funding. I know these sound wild, and maybe they are, but that's what it's time for. I don't want to see these suits like John Ossoff and Gavin Newsom and Josh Shapiro running for president, or more strongly worded letters. We are desperate for this kind of bold leadership like they had in the civil rights movement. John Lewis was doing stuff like this in Congress up until he died. I just don't see that today. You have Cory Booker's theatrics, and that's about it.